If one were to venture a dissection of the Battle of Hostomel, a suburban skirmish that shall now be enshrined in the annals of warfare, it must not be done with the blunt instrument of jingoistic prose, but with the scalpel of cold, analytical precision. For this was a confrontation that laid bare the venality of the Russian incursion into Ukraine, a blunder of such magnitude that it could only have been concocted by minds steeped in the hubris of presumed imperial destiny. The VDV, Russia's airborne forces, lauded in their military lore as an elite unit, paratroopers who were supposed to represent the pinnacle of Russian martial prowess, were dispatched to Hostomel. This was not to be a glorious descent from the heavens into the heart of enemy territory, but a plummet into a maelstrom of their own making. The VDV found themselves not as liberators, as their propagandistic brief would have them believe, but as agents of unwarranted aggression, the purveyors of a miserable affair marked by incompetence and iniquity. To be sure, courage was present on both sides, as is the case in most tragic conflicts. Yet the VDV's resolve was squandered by the strategic folly of their commanders, sacrificed on the altar of vainglory. It is necessary to state in unequivocal terms that any romanticism attached to the paratroopers' creed was brutally eviscerated in the fields and streets of Hostomel. Their mission was an exemplar of the Peter principle in armed conflict. Every man and unit, it seems, was promoted to its level of utmost incompetence. The dispatch of paratroopers to secure Hostomel Airport was an act of military hubris that flirted outrageously with disaster. The airport, a mere 35 kilometers from Kiev, was seen as the linchpin in a rapid advance toward the capital. Yet the operation exposed the flanks of the invaders to the stinging counterattacks of a Ukrainian resistance that was both more nimble and more righteous in their cause. It is here that we must acknowledge the sheer lunacy of the order to take Hostomel, a move that transformed the paratroopers from soldiers into sacrifices. As the VDV dug in, the battle that ensued was not the swift victory that might have been imagined by the war's architects in Moscow. Instead, it was a grinding, sordid clash that demonstrated the Ukrainian will to resist. The very citizens that the VDV had ostensibly come to protect became their tenacious adversaries, the defenders of their own homes and sovereignty. And what can be said of those fallen paratroopers? It is a grim accountancy. They were young men, many no doubt believing in the justness of their cause, fed on a diet of nationalistic fervour, only to be chewed up by the gears of an unjust and unsanctioned war. They were dispatched with abandon by a regime more interested in geostrategic fantasies than the flesh-and-blood soldiers it professed to revere. In the aftermath, as the smoke cleared from the charred remains of Russian helicopters and the twisted metal of destroyed armoured vehicles, the myth of the invincibility of the VDV lay shattered among the detritus. Those who fell did not meet their end on some noble field of battle. They were the casualties of an ignominious blunder, pawns in a geopolitical game of brinksmanship. Their lives were squandered not in defense of the motherland, but in the vain pursuit of a revanchist dream, a neo-imperial vision that has no place in the modern world. The venerated image of the VDV, the Russian airborne forces, once held a semblance of prestige in the collective Russian conscience and beyond. Their sky-blue berets were symbols of pride, their striped shirts a badge of elite status. They were the supposed vanguards of strategic prowess, the elite rapid deployment force that could be trusted to parachute behind enemy lines with grace and efficiency. Yet at Hostomel, the gilding flaked off the icon, revealing the rot beneath. The strategic miscalculations, the moral bankruptcy, the woeful underestimation of the Ukrainian resolve. This was a dereliction of duty by those at the highest echelons of command, a disgrace that will taint the VDV's narrative for posterity. The engagement at Hostomel became the fulcrum upon which the storied power of the VDV buckled and broke, its mythos collapsing under the prodigious weight of a reality for which no parable or past glories could prepare. These paratroopers, who had been honed for operations of clinical precision, found themselves abruptly cast into the tempest of battle, a chaotic maelstrom for which their training and temperaments found no quarter. The carefully curated aura of invincibility, a tapestry woven through decades by the loom of Kremlin-sanctioned narratives, was relentlessly and ruthlessly rent asunder. Trapped in a conflict that was bereft of nobility and strategic coherence, the VDV saw their creed dissolve amidst the bitter fumes rising from their own incinerated armor.